As I mentioned, President Trump, extremely popular in the nation of Israel. 70% approval rating. My good friend Artie Silverman, an expert in Israel, joins us to talk about this. Hey, Artie, how you doing?
How you doing, Larry?
Well, you surprised I refer to you as a Middle East expert?
Yes. I think I'm far from an expert.
Well, you know a whole lot about Israel, about the politics there. Your son, your brother lives there. You've been there a number of times. I've been there a number of times. Why does Donald Trump enjoy such popularity in Israel? As I just said, Artie, 70% approval rating.
Well, I think he's done a lot of things Israeli like. He moved the embassy. He recognized the Golan Heights. He recognized Golan Heights as part of Israel. The peace plan he proposed actually was acceptable to Israel. Israel didn't feel as if they had to give up any of their security. He's coordinated the normalization of ties between Israel and the UAW, Bahrain,
UAE.
UAE. I can't get these initials straight all the time.
UAW, that's the auto union.
They're behind Trump too, aren't they?
I don't know about the auto union. I know the police unions are all are.
Yeah. And different than this administration. I mean, when Obama came in, he told Israel to stop all construction in the West Bank and East Jerusalem as an act of good faith to get the Palestinians back to the negotiating table, of which they never came.
Mm-hmm.
Previous administrations have always told Israel, as a sign of good faith, we want you to release Palestinian prisoners. He hasn't said any of that. And there are a lot of terms, because I read these articles that say sometimes if you think Trump is good to read Israel, read these articles, and they always omit so much. Like the terms I used to hear a lot was cycle of violence. So Palestinians attack Israel, Israel attacks back. Trump is more like, you hit me, we hit back. He didn't see anything wrong with that. So you never hear cycle of violence or disproportionate use of force. What is it? There's another one I can't think of right now. You just don't hear. There's another one. There's another one I can't think of right now. You just don't hear this anymore.
Did you anticipate when Donald Trump appointed his son-in-law to help negotiate Middle East deals that something really was going to happen? I was very skeptical.
No, I didn't think so. Now, I don't know Jared at all.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I don't know anyone that knows him. I think that was such a great move. I was wrong. Clearly, the guy is good.
And I hear there may even be a deal coming down the road with Saudi Arabia. There was just one the other day with Sudan. So they did a deal with Bahrain, with UAE, with Sudan, and possibly one or two more Arab countries may come online.
What's also interesting about that is when they signed a deal with UAE and Bahrain, for the first time, flights to and from Israel are now allowed to fly over Saudi Arabia.
Mm-hmm.
Prior, when my brother would have to go to the east, they're flying all around the country because it didn't have overflight rights. It took a lot longer. Now Saudi Arabia is allowing them to fly over the country, which is it's a big move in the right direction.
Well, it's a huge move in the right direction, and again, no credit whatsoever, no love. I mean, even if you don't like Donald Trump, isn't it good news that Israel has done a deal with UAE? Isn't it good news that Israel has done a deal with Bahrain? Isn't it good news that Israel has done a deal with Sudan? I thought the left was interested in peace.
They are, but the stuff I read says, well, he wasn't a big part of it. It would have happened without him. What I don't know is how do they know this? Like, do they have some sort of inside, eavesdropping on what's going on? I don't know. But I know with the first deal, both the head of the UAE and Netanyahu said he played a big part. Oh, the other thing he signed, the Taylor Force Act. I don't know if you want to explain the pay for slay, which is a slogan.
Mm-hmm. Go ahead.
Oh, I thought you would do a better job. Pay for slay was that when a Palestinian would kill an Israeli, a maim an Israeli, Israel would throw him in jail.
Mm-hmm.
So depending upon his severity of the crime he was convicted for, the Palestinians would give his family a stipend.
Mm-hmm.
So the more people you kill, the bigger the stipend. The more you hurt someone, not kill them, or your stipend is great for hurting, it would be for killing. So it's basically paying Palestinians to hurt Israel. It was referred to as pay for slay.
Mm-hmm. And
they wound up killing an American. I'm not sure he was in the military, retired military, or just served in the military. And his name was Taylor. And they passed the act, and Trump signed it, that for every dollar the Palestinians paid every dollar the Palestinians give as these stipends is one less dollar we give them in aid.
Mm-hmm.
So that we're not paying to slay, which I thought was a really, really good move.
And Silver, speaking of not getting Donald Trump any credit, remember when John Kerry was Secretary of State, I think it was 2016, he gave a speech in which he said, you are delusional if you think there's going to be any kind of peace accords between Israel and the Arab states, the Gulf states, without involving the Palestinians. You're just having a pipe dream. It's a fantasy to think that you can do a deal like that. Oops. UAE, Bahrain, Sudan, and maybe Saudi Arabia. Did the man ever come forward and say, I was wrong, I apologize, I underestimate the statecraft of the Donald Trump administration? Of course not. It's as if he never said it.
Well, did anyone ever ask him? Did any reporter go, hey, you said this, what do you think?
Are you expecting reporters to actually report, Silver?
Well, yeah. Or maybe someone can get him on their radio station and ask them. That's I'm not sure if he goes on radio stations, but if a conservative radio station asks him, maybe that would be a good question.
Well, all right, Artie, we're going to leave it here. Artie Silverman, Middle East expert. Artie, thank you very much for coming on. I appreciate it.
Okay. Bye.
You got it. Now, remember, Donald Trump, soft on Russia. He's in the back pocket of Putin. He's a stooge. Have you forgotten how the Obama administration kissed Russia's you-know-what in order to do the Iran deal through Poland and the Czech Republic under the bus? Have you forgot about the hot mic where he told Medvedev, I'll have more flexibility, where they laughed at Mitt Romney for suggesting that Russia was a big geopolitical threat? Have you forgotten about Hillary setting the reset button? I'm Larry Elder.